What is going on, everybody? This your boy Sean, aka Puff Comics 83, and we are back. And you see the visceral moment of my man VV. We are talking Zombie. Now, this movie has a variety of names, but the one I always call it is Zombie 2, which is basically like a sequel to Zombie, which was basically Dawn of the Dead, which we talked about last week. But this movie right here, it's not even a sequel. It's its own thing.
Absolutely.
And to me, like this is like the perfect introduction to a zombie apocalypse.
Yes, this is my favorite zombie movie. I mean, you can hear already the tunes in the background, the amazing, mesmerizing soundtrack by Fabio Frizzi, along with Claudio Simonetti, my favorite soundtrack composer in horror. I mean, of course, you also have some fantastic. Let's just say, let's make it trifecta. Let's say the Fabio Frizzi, Claudio Simonetti, and Ennio Morricone. Hey, Robert. Because Ennio Morricone also did some fantastic horror soundtracks, especially for The Exorcist 2, where the soundtrack is as crazy as the movie.
You know, it's a good movie when you got a soundtrack and the score that stays with you, and you be like, man, I need to download this, I need to have the vinyl, I need the CD, whatever. I just need to own this music.
Yeah. Luckily, the US edition, I think there's also like a real 4K now. There's a 4K remastered on Blu-ray. The Blue Underground edition.
Yeah.
They had like also this this holograph with one of the most famous scenes in the movie, and but also the movie comes with the soundtrack like in it.
Nice.
They have like 3-disc special edition, and the soundtrack alone is worth it to rebuy it.
Yeah, it's always great when they throw in the soundtrack as an extra, you know. That means they really put love into this special edition and say, hey, we want to give the soundtrack to you as well.
And Blue Underground is also one of these labels that I always really recommend, like, to buy their stuff, especially when you can get it on sale. Like before, of course, I did the DVD. I did when I had somewhere, it was too lazy to find it. But of course, I also had, like, with the UK title, the Zombie Flesh Eaters from Arrow Video. Yeah. Arrow Video also fantastic label. So Arrow Video is especially my favorite label when it comes to 4K releases. I just recently watched another Fulci movie, The House by the Cemetery, in the new 4K, and that one is amazing. That one, you know, last time when we talked about what I hate on some Blu-rays, when they remastered and everything is way too light and take away the whole atmosphere. Like the 4K release of House by the Cemetery brought the dark back. And just amazing. So it's like we are very lucky nowadays with the releases from the UK and the US for some old Italian horror movies.
Yes, and you know, the amount of remasters of these movies, a lot of them definitely need it, but like you said, sometimes they have to have the right touch to get that balance, because when you do too much work to it, it takes away the authenticity of the original.
Exactly, because those movies, like, you know, when you watch the originals, of course, like, the quality was different time, and you had it on film, and on film you can do a lot of things. But also those movies were like shot like dark for a reason. First of all, of course, of the atmosphere, and second, you know, Italian low-budget movies, even though Lucio Fulci has one of the most amazing effects that look very real for what was possible within the budget. If you light it too much up, you can see too much details, you know, what is makeup, what is not makeup, what is like a prosthetic, what is not a prosthetic. So it's really good to have them like in the original dark tone, and of course also to still have the film core. I always hate when they filmed out the film core.
Yeah. So one of the things I really enjoy about this film is the pacing. Now, some movies can have a slow pace with boring dialogue and boring characters that you'd be like, it just bores you to tears. But the thing I like is that you get that opening introduction of the derelict boat that's heading in the harbor of New York, and you already know that boat is empty and something happened on there.
Yeah.
And right from the start, when you see the first zombie, you don't see another zombie for like maybe 35, 40 minutes into the movie. But you already know that there's something on afoot with this. And I just love the fact that that was the start of the outbreak right there.
Yeah, exactly, and also that the movie basically comes full circle. The daughter of somebody of the island and like a journalist, they want to find out, what is the root of this. And then of course, like they find, like I said, they fucked around and found out.
Fucked around and found. And when the cops boarded the boat, and you go down there, and like you just know a zombie's down there, just waiting. And I love that they didn't try and pull a jump scare.
Yes.
Like they just had the zombie just come out the door straight out, no jump scare, no nothing.
Fulci was like the true master of terror, along with Mario Bava, and of course Dario Argento. Hey, Damien.
Well,
This is this movie for me is the perfect zombie apocalypse movie, and what I also really love is in the beginning, in the boat with the setup, the boat really looks like that it has been like living manless for like until it got into the harbor, because like you had all this rotten food, these maggots around, and this is the thing what I really like with Italian horror, which you don't have so much in a lot of American horror. I think Sam Raimi did it, of course, that you have really these disgusting scenes.
Yes. That, to me, the disgusting stuff is more horrifying than all the like gore and all that stuff.
Yeah.
The scene that most disgusts me, but yet it's awesome, is when the zombies rise out the grave.
Yeah, and what I also really love about is, and we already talked a little bit about last week, is that this movie combines the voodoo roots of the zombie. So also voodoo is the cause of the zombie apocalypse here, but it also still plays like a modern zombie movies, modern in the sense of 70s modern, that you can contract like the curse or the virus like by being bitten.
Because just like Night of the Living Dead, most zombie movies really don't show you how the outbreak began.
Yeah.
It's more of a mystery. And whereas this movie, the only thing we can base it on is the voodoo curse of the natives.
But what I really love, the mystery about it is, you only hear the natives, in the night, the drums. So there's still the mystery, of what, who are these natives? But as I said, hey Kenneth, but I really like that they really show, okay, these are voodoo zombies, and even though also the characters in the movies voodoo, what is this? Like, it's just a mixture of Catholicism and African rites that were brought here. But they found out that voodoo is a very real thing, and it bites you.
Every time he said he didn't believe in voodoo nonsense, I was just waiting for Baron Sammy to pop up and say, "Oh, really?" But yeah, as the story goes forward from the beginning, and the first victim was one of the policemen.
Yeah.
And now you see him being at the morgue, being dissected and stuff, trying to figure out what happened. And you see the little movement of his body. You're like, oh, that's the start right there.
Yeah.
But they don't know. And I love how, they go away from New York, but it comes back full circle by the end. The two main leads of the film, the daughter Anna Bolt and Peter West. Anna Bolt is she's the daughter of the scientist who was in one of the islands, the doctor. And the boat that came back to New York was one of his. So she wants to find out what's going on. And while she's snooping around the boat at night, she runs into Peter West,
Yeah.
played by Ian McKellen, and long story short, they get some information from a letter came from the island and said that it's from the Dominican Republic. So they say, hey, if we work together, we can get this case solved. Get some information from each other. And they go down there, and then they meet another couple, played Brian Kerr and Susan Barrett,
of whom we see a little bit more, luckily.
Yeah, and I like their introduction because they're like, boaters and stuff like that, and sea divers, but they know about that island and the mysterious voodoo stuff that the natives have been saying, and they don't know if they want to partake in it, but they're not going to pass up on money and stuff, and plus, they get an opportunity to explore. So the four of them are like the main characters, along with the main doctor in the movie, who I thought was fantastic. We talked about this backstage, but Dr. Menard, played by Richard Johnson. These type of movies, they always have like this mad scientist type person. But in this movie, the mad scientist is doing his hardest to try and figure out what is the cause of this, and doing everything within his test results to figure out how can they stop this.
Yeah, this is what I really like about it, is that the mad scientist is not the cause of the disaster, but he's actually the one who tries to find out what it is and to prevent it.
Yeah, he's doing everything in his power to prevent it, while his wife says, "Get me the fuck out of this island," because
poor Olga.
and you don't blame her. Like with everything that's happening and people getting sick and then dying and then coming back to life. Like, send my ass back.
Yeah, even if it's not a zombie caused pandemic, it's like, even if it's like a normal even if it's like a normal illness, I want to get off that fucking island.
Nothing is keeping me there. And then they had this the back and forth, and like you said, he gave the Kung Pao. Yeah, she still was talking shit because she's paranoid. And when you're on an island surrounded by water, and all this mystical stuff is happening that you got no control of, you don't want to stay there. But the doctor is determined to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
And while when you look at the scenes at the hospital, you thinking like, man, these people are being treated badly, but no, they're being tested because he's trying to figure out why these people are slowly dying and then coming back alive as undead. So you see him going through tests, taking blood, and trying to figure out what's going on. And you don't feel this type of hate towards him because he's doing everything he possibly can to figure out. You don't want to admit that the whole voodoo thing. You don't want to believe that, and none of them really don't.
Yeah, it's like he's very determined, but it's like his motives are not evil.
And you gotta admit, him and his nurse that was there, they handling things the way like normal people wouldn't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
Like normally the nurse, she's following orders and she's doing exactly what he's saying.
Yeah. She's
not questioning him.
This is also what is great about the pacing of the movie. It moves so fast forward. But, by the acting of the mad scientist and the nurse, you can really see the past, that they're like a well-oiled machine, and they truly went through some shit until we, the audience, arrived on the island. He already has figured out that, when they get up, headshot is the thing that does it.
Yep. And every time he makes sure that they're strapped down, tied into a gurney bag, so when they do come up, he just shoot them in the head and they bury the bodies.
Yeah.
And he has another assistant named Lucas, which is one of the natives there. And I know a couple of Dominicans growing up in New York. I don't remember them speaking Mexican like Spanish.
You know why?
It's-
Because Lucas is the guy. He's like he's a wrestler.
Yeah.
He's a Mexican wrestler. No, he's from Peru. He's a Peruvian wrestler.
Because I was like, wait a minute, they speaking more of that Mexican Spanish than Dominican Spanish.
And he was like in a lot of Italian movies. He also was the leader of the spider cult in Arthur, the Fighting Eagles. So he has quite a nice film career with Italian movie makers, which is like one of the wrestlers who's in a lot of movies where a lot of people don't know that he is like in South America, like a very famous wrestler.
Interesting, because I didn't know about him. But yeah, it was pretty weird hearing them talk the way they talk and saying "senor" and stuff. I'm like, I'm used to that, hearing that in Mexicans, not in Dominicans.
Yeah.
But that was just a little small gripe on my part. Other than that, I thought the natives, specifically Lucas, was pretty good at his role.
Yeah.
He was more of a subservient and more of that whole believing of the voodoo stuff, and that the natives want to get the hell out of the island.
Yeah, because they know what is like there.
And we get to the first big part of the film. Zombie versus shark.
Yeah. And what do you do when you don't have the budget for a fake shark? You get a real fucking tiger shark. I mean, I don't I'm not a fan of sedating any animals from movies, but they sedated the tiger shark, so like I think in the business this is called a calculated risk.
That's a huge risk.
It's a huge risk to have like a cameraman in zombie makeup fighting against a fucking tiger shark.
And damn near getting the upper hand on them too.
Yeah. I remember when I watched it for the first time, it's like, these are real good effects for like a Italian movie. Like the Italian shark movies don't have the real.
That was the day they use CGI. It'd be fake as fuck.
Yeah. I mean, let's just say, rightfully so, this shit won't fly under any safety measures. Every insurance would immediately jump off. But hey, it was the golden age of Italian exploitation cinema, so hey, nobody died.
Hey, props to the guy who played the zombie to go up against the shark. Even a sedated shark is still a high risk. Like,
of course, if you want to nitpick, you can see, the zombie has like bubbles of air going out. But when I'm underwater fighting a real tiger shark, I also would not probably care too much about like, I have to be careful not so no one bubbles and leave my mouth.
Hey man, he's trying to chomp on the shark. He got a chunk of the shark. He got a chunk.
He got it.
The shark did tear his arm off later on.
Yeah. But also the beautiful thing about this scene is the whole aesthetic of it. Of course, this
diving in there, damn near naked.
Yes, you get like a real nice shot of like, of course, her breast, beautiful woman, and you can also clearly see the bush under the under the bikini. And so when she dives in there, it's really aesthetic, and you can totally see that she is. She knows what is down there. Like she knows that there's gonna be a shark. So I think the terror that she plays, you don't need a lot of acting for that because.
Well, she did a good job evading the shark until the zombie came.
Yes, yeah, very much.
And I was like, damn, I'd rather take my chances with the shark.
I truly hope she did get a good payday for this.
But yeah, that scene was probably the most iconic scene we can see.
The glorious bush.
VCR Def always post that scene. Either that scene or the scene where Olga meets her demise, which we will get to.
Yeah. There's what is also so fantastic about Fulci, You know, when other directors like make a break in the shot, end the shot, and they say release the rest of imagination, Fulci zooms on it.
He zooms in.
He zooms in, and there's like,
hey man, him and Dario got something against somebody's eyes, man, because they always got to take an eye out.
In general, in Italian horror and gialli, the eye is like a very recurring motive.
The sight of the beholder. So but after the whole shark versus zombie, they get to the island, and you know things started to slowly deteriorate when they get to the island. And that's where they encounter the doctor and have the conversation with him, and the whole thing with voodoo versus science.
Yeah,
and I thought that was a pretty good conversation in the car.
It was for especially like for a zombie movie where the focus is not ultimately the story. The thing with Fulci is, when I was young and I was watching all of his like horror movies. I always thought, okay, Fulci truly favors like the visuals over the story. But later, when I also watched his gialli, I had to say, no, Fulci can craft a coherent and intelligent plot. He just saw, like, when he did this movie, it's like, okay, he puts in some plot, but the plot is not in the foreground. This is like a horror movie. This needs to bring the terror to the audience, and this is absolutely what he crafted here in the most perfect way possible within its genre. You're watching it, and there is not a single length in this movie. The plot is easily understandable, and like I said, there is like no cheap jump scares. Like the terror walks towards you. In plain sight, and yet it still functions.
It works. It just works with the way they do this movie. And the like I said, the plot isn't the strongest, but it does its job in getting the point.
It does its job. Like, and this is the great thing when you know that a director can craft an intelligent movie with a fantastic plot, but he also knows, hey, this is not the time for it. So he doesn't force his things into this movie that would be to its detriment in the final product.
And you know, again, like back to the doctor, you see him doing everything he can to try and prevent this, but he is struggling, and you can just see.
Yeah,
he's on the beach drinking and stuff like it is wearing him down.
You can see that this guy probably didn't have a good night's sleep in a week.
You can.
Yeah.
Especially with the patients coming back alive.
Yeah.
Slowly dying and then coming back alive. It's hard to even try and get sleep. If he did rest his eyes, it was probably no more than 15 minutes before he had to get back up and handle something. So he was put through the ringer, but he still had that determination to try and figure out why. And even when they came and they had that conversation, he's like, I'm glad y'all here, but at the same time, things aren't looking too good. He says it in a subtle way. He says it subtle. He don't say it outright, but you could just tell that things are bleak going forward.
Yeah.
And if I'm one of them, I'm like, really make the right choices coming down here?
It's like basically like this is like the definition of to be at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Wrong place, wrong time. And this is why, you know, Carl's like, they didn't want to do it initially, but they did it. But I kind of wish he like, damn, I have regrets coming here, because they heard the stories from the natives about the island. And sometimes you got to believe what the natives say. Because they're natives. They know what that island is. If they say that island is cursed, then I'm staying the fuck away from that island.
Yes. That's You know, I may be white, but I'm not going in a fucking haunted house. Like,
No.
yeah, hell no. But if something is cursed, like, nope. I don't want any cursed objects in my house. I don't want to go in a cursed house. I don't want to have anything to do with this. Even though technically I don't believe in it, I don't want to play with fate.
Yeah, all the superstitions and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, no.
I'm agnostic. Like, it's like there's no evidence for it, but also I don't want to fuck with it.
That's like knowing the history of Camp Crystal Lake, and your friends still want to go there. Like, you want to go to Camp Crystal Lake? I'm like, man, haven't you heard about the deaths there?
Yeah, I mean, it's really like a, and as it is with like horror movies and horror community. Oh, there's been like a mass murder, like a supernatural one. The first thing is bitches with pumpkin spice latte. Like,
but you know, they're on the island, and they pretty much know they're screwed. And you know, the doctor's going through his things, you know, and we get some backstory on the father.
Yeah.
You know, and I like how at the beginning of the movie we see him point the gun and shoot somebody in the head.
Yes,
that he didn't know, and then it come out it was the father.
Yeah.
So it's like it came back full right there.
Yeah.
And you know, he wanted to make sure to send that note to his daughter and stuff before his demise. And the one thing we don't know is how the person that was manning the boat got infected. But I guarantee he got infected right before they left.
It's a voodoo curse. Like, he was on the island. It's like, it's like not everything must be over-explained. So I think there's the things that needed to be explained are explained in the movie. And then of course the doctor also thinks about his wifey and says like, hey, since you're already here, can you please check on my wife and get her?
Bro, see, this is why she wanted to get the fuck off that house.
Yeah. Because as we know, that things turned sour for her very fast.
First of all, being in there alone.
Yeah.
You hearing the noise outside, you don't know what's out there. And it's funny how she closed the door, and then as soon as she went through that door, the zombie was right behind the door, holding it with his hand. I was like, oh shit, that zombie was quick. And then she's struggling to fight the zombie off and get through the door. But, man, talk about a smart zombie. He breaks the wood of the door, and she was stupid enough to be too close to it. And the zombie grabbed her head, and it's like the zombie like, oh, there's some splints of wood. Let me drag your eye straight to it.
Now, I am more actually think that the zombie just wanted to drag her to him, and the splinter was there.
I feel like that zombie was deliberate at how he was dragging her to it. It was too slow. And it was like, yo, the splinter wood is right there. I'm gonna aim straight to it.
And like I said before, is, you know, other directors are like, you see them dragging, and then you hear a scream in the black or somewhere. Not with Fulci. You have like the full scene of her struggling until like.
And you can tell like the shots from the real body or the real face, and then the puppetry.
Yes,
you can tell. But it's still real enough.
That's actually what I really like with the old DVD, because it's tougher to tell there. So I still have to get this movie. I still hope for a proper release here in 4K, because I think with HDR and when you get the scene darker again than on the Blu-ray, then I think it looks smoother. But
it's still fantastic.
Yeah, it's still fantastic. It's very nitpicking, but I think with a proper remastering in 4K, you can make this seem like seamless again, like in the original, but with better quality.
Because the one thing, like the torture of the eyeball, man, just seeing it slowly go through the splinter and then just crack it by moving her hand, I'm like.
that's
it's swimmers, but then now it's like you can watch that anytime and like
yeah. And also the scene later, you know, when they pick her up, and of course there you have all the zombies around her, like eating her.
That was awesome. That the shot of those zombies just taking her pieces and just and then you see her corpse there. Oh man, the way they filmed that was awesome.
Yeah, I remember when I was 14 and I watched it for the first time. This was actually a scene where I was eating something and then I put away the food.
You don't want to be eating something with that.
Yeah.
But the way that was shot was well done. Like the look on their faces seeing that. And I like how they just show each zombie picking parts of her body.
Yeah.
And chowing down.
I think that's probably one of the best zombies eat a person seen in movie history.
Oh yeah. And when they try and escape, zombies was blocking their exit. So they like, man, we gotta fight our way out. They get in the car, hightail it back to the hospital, but they hit a zombie on the way and crash. I'm like, oh, you crashed the one vehicle that you need. Fucking zombies, get out the road.
And of course, the protagonist's ankle is a little bit hurt in that moment.
That's sad.
It was a very nice gash.
It was sad. It was like, damn, what you do? How do you shatter your ankle like that?
Walk it off.
I like how he had to sit and rest every like couple of minutes.
Yeah,
because it was too bad.
So I really liked that, and also that they showed like that they had to basically walk back, and it was very troublesome, and also like they had to take a rest at a cemetery.
The wrong spot to take a rest.
The wrong spot to take like a rest, well, you might think, oh, this is like an old Spanish graveyard from the time of the conquistadors. So nothing should happen here.
Them dudes were sleeping for eternity until they came by.
Yeah.
And then they said, oh, it's time to get up. You got some fresh meat.
Yep. Because voodoo zombies, there's magic involved. They don't care how old the corpses are.
Oh Lord, what is up with these people? Why are you gonna just start making out in a fucking cemetery? There's no time to be kissing.
Because death and love are so close together. So when you're like, fear of death and getting horny is like
a long time to get horny. Because as soon as they start kissing, man, the zombie reached out, grabbed her hair, grabbed his already fucked up ankle, and like, oh, y'all trying to make love while we laying here? Really?
And a sacred place? Yeah, this is also actually it's not one of, this is my favorite zombies coming out of the grave scenes, like especially as we know, like here's the cover. And this is when I know last week I was talking that I'm not a fan of the makeup of Dawn of the Dead, the zombie makeup, because I'm used to this. This is zombie makeup. This is perfection.
Now see, that's a zombie that has been rotten forever. He is coming up from the grave, maggots and worms in his mouth, shit coming out the eye sockets. That shit is disgusting.
It is.
That's a real fucking zombie.
Yeah, and also that scene when the zombie gets on Susan.
Bro, she was stupid as hell.
Yeah, and when the maggots were falling on her, and it is such a disgustingly awesome scene.
She froze seeing that.
Yeah.
My ass would have been running. I would have been somewhere halfway across the island after seeing the maggots. But she got it bad. That zombie fell on her and ate her.
Yes, but it's not the last of that we see of her.
Yeah. But
unluckily for her.
But yeah, she got it. they took that zombie out, but by that point, the whole dead risen up, and they made a beeline for the hospital.
Yes, and they want to have the last stand at the hospital, like they prepare for it.
And I loved it. I loved the unrelentlessness of the zombies coming through on all faces. They closed all the windows. They still getting through the windows.
Yeah.
They got the doors barricaded. They busting through the doors.
Absolutely, it's a really fantastic last stand. As for the defenders, it was not the best location chosen for a last stand because you basically. It's a trap. It's a death trap.
And it's a fucking hospital too, man. So you ain't getting help nowhere.
Yeah.
And then all the patients that was still in there was not finished off. They come to life.
Yes, and the
doctor got it. One of his friends, Fritz, who was the other doctor there.
Yeah.
He didn't finish him off, but he died. He came back alive and killed the doctor when he was getting ready his shotgun.
Yeah, it turned it into a slaughter. I was like, and then they of course did one of the classic mistakes in Zombie Apocalypse, because people might always think that fire is a good weapon against zombies. No, they're already dead. You have you have now burning zombies coming at you. Like you make it worse.
Like, what do I need a flaming zombie to come at me for?
Yeah. Let's take something uncontrollable as a zombie, and then another uncontrollable aspect to it.
And then and all the chaos, Lewis and the nurse got killed.
Yeah.
Because again, all the patients that was already in there, they didn't finish them off. They died. They came back to life, and they was able to get those two.
So basically, they got surrounded in their own hideout and only 3 minutes out.
Wow. Well, after they done bombed the zombies and stuff, they thought that they was gonna get away scot-free, but they was some outside, including a reanimated Susan.
Yeah, and
this is where Carl froze. Susan froze when she saw a zombie, and then he froze when he saw her.
Yeah, this is one of the things where people always say, "Oh, why people react so stupid? It's a zombie." If you have your reanimated partner in front of you, I'm pretty sure that most people would freeze.
Yeah, but she's gone, bro.
She's gone, and also a piece of him is gone that she took a bite out. But he doesn't say that. Shoot her in the head. Shoot her in the head.
And that's another thing. Like, and they didn't know when they were shooting earlier at the zombies.
Yeah,
they were just shooting the body.
I think the doctor forgot to mention, like,
I mentioned, like, you need to aim at the head. So they were shooting at the bodies before they realized, hey, shoot them in the head, because that's when they're finished. But
it's when you're in Dort, it's always like a good solution to aim for the head.
Hey, I liked it when they was at the cemetery and they took out the zombie that took out Susan. Man, they chopped his head off, brain splattered everywhere. I was like, yo, how he still got brain matter? He a rotten corpse. Fushi loved the gore, man. I love it.
Yeah.
But they start aiming for the head, but Carl gets bitten by a reanimated Susan. She gets dealt with, and they're able to get to the boat. But Carl's been bitten, and he's gonna die sooner or later.
But they also wanted to take him back, so they have like evidence of what happened. So they lock him in the.
Well, it's too late, because by the time they get to back to New York, it has been overrun.
Oh, well, this is like such a fantastic shot from the bridge. First of all, the zombies walking on the bridge into New York is fantastic. Of course, you have to ignore the regular traffic on the bridge. It's like everybody's calm as fuck.
They ain't driving like wild people trying to get the hell out of the city.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is an iconic shot, of them crossing the Brooklyn Bridge.
And I'm pretty sure that they had no licenses to shoot it.
They was able to get that shot, and it was a great way because after that it's like, yeah, New York is done.
Yeah. And
that's where the true zombie apocalypse begins. Yeah. Especially in the biggest city, New York. But man, I love this film. I remember watching it years ago and I was like, man, the special effects is crazy with how the zombie makeup and how rotten and nasty they look. And while I enjoyed Dawn of the Dead, it's just something about this movie that to me is like the definitive zombie movie for me.
Absolutely. Like, I see the same way that this movie is my favorite zombie movie, that I'm at least watching it once a year, and it always gets me in the perfect mood also for Halloween. As everybody who watches this, you hear the soundtrack. One of the top 5 horror soundtracks in history.
And the thing is, we talk Sugar Hill, Dawn, and this. Sugar Hill had the most voodoo, because it's got Baron Samedi. And this one had the second most voodoo because of the location that they were in. Where Dawn just had a scene where Pete was talking about, his family and voodoo and stuff. But it had a memorable line that came from it.
Yeah.
When hell is full, the dead rises. And voodoo plays a role in these 3 films. And that's what makes them so memorable, is that they all have this little harken back to the voodoo zombie.
Exactly. I always laugh when movies really celebrate like the origin of the topic they're about, and Fulci always, with all these movies, we talked about the Beyond, that Fulci truly was inspired also by Lovecraft's works for that movie. So Fulci knew about the source material when he did the movie. He did his research, and what a lot of people don't know is that Fulci also did a lot of comedies in Italy. So he was basically a very famous also work for hire. You told him the genre he should do, and he was doing it. So there's a lot, there's even some kids films that are directed by Lucio Fulci. So you can't say a Fulci movie is automatically a splatter and gore fest. Now he did his job when he was hired. When he said, "Hey, we want you to do this really gruesome horror movie," and he's like, "I can do that.
No problem."
Yeah.
If he would have done a horror movie with kids involved, it probably would have been way better than Children of the Corn. That's for sure.
Oh, have you ever watched?
No, I haven't.
Don't torture a duckling.
Don't torture a duckling. I seen it on his list.
Yes, watch it. This movie is genius. It's one of Fulci's best. Fulci also did 2 spaghetti western. I think Il Tempo di Massacre, which was of course released as a Django movie, here with Franco and with Hilton. That is also a spaghetti western that we have to talk in the future, and another spaghetti western that I also have, but I forgot the title. But Fulci was a genius, and he could make a fantastic movie within every genre, and this is something that a lot of modern directors are also lacking.
They can't do multiple genres.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if you would have said Fulci, put him into Hollywood and say, "Hey, make this big Hollywood blockbuster," he would have excelled in it.
I say, "Hey, make this blockbuster, and we'll give you majority control over it. You do what you want. So you can have all the action scenes, and just imagine all action with lots of gore in it.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Hey, Stallone will have a field day with that. Like, gore and action go together?
Absolutely.
Be like the last two Rambo movies.
Yeah, also talking about Stallone and Rocky, rest in peace,
Burt
Burt Young.
Yeah, man.
Goodbye, Paulie.
Paulie left us.
Yeah, it was like, when I read it today, it's like, this was like this end of an era feel when you read something where it's like, yeah, really sucks.
But he lived a long life, and he was actually a boxer himself.
Yeah.
So, props. Rest in peace to Burt Young, man.
Yeah.
Legendary actor. I'm glad we was able to talk the Rocky movies before.
Yeah.
But, yes, Zombie 2, Zombie Flesh Eaters.
Voodoo, Schreckensins oder Zombies.
Yeah, like this is just a fantastic film, and one that I could watch it again.
Yeah,
because it's just that good.
This is so rewatchable, and with the soundtrack, this is a film that gets you into the horror mood.
Yep. And with that in mind, we got one more week left.
One more week of gruesome, gory action, and we also go again to Italy. We're gonna talk Demons.
Yes, we're gonna talk Demons 1 and 2.
Yeah, because why not watch the second one? The second one is actually very interesting. I still haven't watched Evil Dead Rise. I'm gonna watch it next week. But when I read the premise of Evil Dead Rise, I was like, that's Demons 2.
Don't make me want to watch Evil Dead Rise now just to see the similarities.
Yeah. Like I said, I have not watched Evil Dead Rise yet. I'm getting the Blu-ray next week. But it was like when the premise, like, this reminds me so much about Demons 2.
Yeah. So, but I'm looking forward to it because it's just seeing the photos of it, like, God, this looks gnarly as fuck. I can't wait.
Yes. This, you have Lamberto Bava, director, the son of Mario Bava. Lamberto Bava is also somebody, he did like a lot of fantasy, like children, like a fairy tale fantasy on TV. I don't know in the US if you know Lady Fantagiro.
Not that I know. No.
Yeah, which is in Europe very famous. That was placed in Christmas time, which is like based on an Italian folklore. So like he did like stuff like that, and he also did Demons. And you have of course Dario Argento as producer.
Yeah, he's another one that will definitely dive into his catalog. Yeah. Because I'm ready to talk some more films by him.
And I think Demons is also a little bit more well known in the US because even with Stray Dogs, you even got the variant cover for the Demons movie poster.
Yeah, like Stray Dogs did every horror movie they could do.
they overdid it a little bit.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
I had to stop myself because I'm like, all right, you making too many of these covers, and as much as I love them, I can't be spending money.
I was not buying like the second print or anything. It was just like, hey, first print. That's it.
And before we go off, you posted it earlier this week. I reread Dead Flowers, and like I said, I thought it was fine. The artwork really wasn't to my liking, but I kind of got past it.
I thought in the beginning also like the artwork is a little, but I think the artwork got way better. The
second half it got better, but at the first I wasn't really feeling because I reread it today before we came on because I wanted to see if I can really get into it. I liked it how it ended, but the build up to it was like I'm not really feeling it as much. But
it drew me immediately in.
Yeah, it took a while to really like capture me, but I said I'm still looking forward to reading issue 2 and seeing it go forward. I'm gonna buy the whole series just for Sarah.
Yeah, and what I really like about it is I also posted on Instagram. I love how it mixes like history with fiction, and I absolutely love the gothic horror vibe about it. So it really feels like it really feels like one of these classic gothic horror tales that you had like in the early Vampirella and Eerie magazines. That, of course, a lot of them are also based or like inspired by Poe, for example.
But
And also
Vampirella's
the foil cover
Vampirella.
is also beautiful.
Oh yeah. See, I ain't. We're talking that tomorrow on the Comic Call Crew.
Ooh, a foil.
90s gimmicks coming back into play.
Yeah.
I ain't falling for the foils and nothing like that because that's how they got all when we
Yeah.
were younger.
But I do have to say, the foils, I think they're a little bit more than regular price. So Dynamite, at least, I mean, at least my comic shops just sells them like when I pre-ordered them for like €5. So uh, I think that's fair. But also, I'm really cutting down like the variant.
And of course, after the show with you next Friday, I will be hanging out with G-Man.
Yeah.
I got his little AOK.
Oh
Old
yeah,
Pinhead, Doug Bradley.
as we know, G-Man a big Bradley fan, and of course Hellraiser fan.
And one day we'll talk the first two Hellraisers. Have G-Man on as a guest if we can.
Absolutely, have them, of course. I also have the Arrow box set, which is still funny because I think my favorite is still the fifth one, and I'm very very alone with that. But that one is so sexy.
Like the first two are like best for me. So I like certain parts of the movies after, but they lose the plot completely with what they established in the first two films. But yeah, I can't wait to see G-Man and hang out with him.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I
You're
said,
gonna have a hell of a time.
like I said, the Comic Call Crew is back tomorrow. We'll be talking about 90s gimmicks coming back into play in this modern age. And we're just gonna have a great time, and I can't wait to hang out with Al and Matt when they come down that same week.
Like my assumption is that it's basically it's like the 90s gimmicks it's like mainstream comics right now being like on their last legs. Because I can say it with me, like I'm spending way less money on new comics than I did a year ago, and 1 year ago I spent less money than I did 2 years ago. And I can see this trend going on with a lot of people, which is understandable. There are still good stories out there. You have to find, like, you just have to find them. Not everybody wants to look for them. And then again, as is also something that I think the comic boom a few years ago, people finding out now that either like they're having not enough space or they're just like they're overwhelmed by it. And
yeah, the people who got into it recently, they're overwhelmed.
Yeah,
because they done bought too much. But yeah, the spacing is definitely a problem. Yes, but again, it's just I don't want to commit fully to digital.
Yeah.
And me and Jace was talking about the whole physical release. I don't know if you saw his story, but our supply chain, Best Buy.
Oh yeah, I heard about it. Yeah,
no longer selling physical media, DVDs and Blu-rays. Like what the fuck?
I heard about it. Also, like I think wasn't like Target and Walmart there or something that they're no longer, or that they're trying to get rid of like physical video game releases.
Yeah, it's like
or something.
Like, everybody wants to go into the streaming and digital, but like the thing about that is that shit can get locked out. It's tied to a platform. Like say for instance, like all these apps that got all these movies on it, they could take those movies off whenever they feel like it.
Absolutely. I do have to say with video games that I buy most of the stuff on Steam. But also the other thing is, if there's like a nice release, a physical one, I would buy it. But if they just release stuff on Steam, I'm not buying it at a release. I'm buying it 3 years later as a Game of the Year edition for $10.
You get it for a good price. Whereas some of these games on the consoles, they put them on digital and they charging the price that you buy in physical. It makes no sense.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense for the people who sell it, but but on the other hand, it's also what you have. What I always say is, we are basically we are the people in power. If we don't buy that, like for example in comics, they're trying to make digital a thing. However, let's face it, there's not a lot of young people in comics, and people like us, we want to have the stuff in our hand.
If not in floppies, I still will take reading a trade, a hardcover, or omnibus over reading something digital.
Yeah, exactly. But personally, I have no problem having like a game digital or having some movies digital. There's some movies where I say, okay, I have to have this on Blu-ray. I'm fine with the digital copy when I buy it on sale, like for $3 on Amazon. And if they would take it off in a few years, I spent $3 and I watched the movie probably 3 times, so I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
But with books, and this is the huge difference, what I think a lot of people, publishers don't get. When I play a video game or watch a movie, whether it's physical or it's like digital, I watch it on the same device. I watch it on the TV or play it on the screen. But it's a difference when I read a book or a comic, if I have like a digital device in my hand or if I have the paper in the hands. So this is why I think you can't really compare like books with with movies and video games. There's a lot of people who can read digital well. Personally, I would love that I would be one of these people. Like I have a Kindle. I can't read shit on it because it's
the format.
Yeah, the format. Like I can't deal with the format. It like
and I don't like where I have to zoom in, zoom back out just to continue. Like nah.
Exactly. Like I want to have the book in my hand. Like feeding the paper is like one thing, but also it's like my eyes. It's easier for my eyes to read from paper than read from Kindle, even though Kindle does it way better than smartphones or anything. Like it feels the closest, but it's still my eyes tell me still this is wrong.
And the more we keep looking at these screens, whether it's phone, tablets, computers, and stuff, our eyes are going to suffer.
Yeah, exactly. Not only with eyes, it's also like the touch. It's as humans, this is like this is one of the old school sales strategies. When somebody tries you to sell something, for example, you go in a store and then the clerk says like, "Hey, touch it," and you have it in your hands. And so when you have it in your hands, you already have a sort of feeling of possession. Like it's like I have it in my hands. Basically, I almost like already own it. And this like when I hold a Kindle in my hand, I have the feeling that I own the Kindle. But I don't have the feeling that this is my book or my comic. However, when I hold the comic or a book in my hand, I can feel the heaviness of it or the shittiness of the paper quality if it's a modern Marvel comic.
Yep.
But I feel it.
Yeah.
And this is one aspect that you don't have with movies or video games, because you still have the same control in your hand, whether the product is digital or not.
And it takes me back to that time when magazines were a thing, like the video game magazines.
Yeah.
Like reading internet stuff on video games ain't the same like reading those magazines.
Yeah. I'm actually in a German game magazine from the early 2000s. I won a beta test for a strategy game. Like I was beta tester spot for a strategy game in PC games.
Nice.
So if anybody wants to see like 17 or 18-year-old me, like you have to get like German PC games from the early 2000s.
The PC game magazine, right?
Yeah, PC Games Magazine. Yeah.
Man, I used to live after off the newsstands reading those magazines.
Yeah, and and I remember like you had like all these demos on it of the games, before they were like the Steam, etc. And every then when they started like, oh, and it comes with a DVD and you have like a full game.
And then the wrestling magazines. I was looking through my wrestling
Yeah,
magazines. I was like, man, those were the days when you go get them wrestling magazines and read through. They were still protecting kayfabe.
yeah.
So they like, is Hogan really betraying the NWO and stuff like that? So
When
those are the
I
days.
was young, I also read the German WWF magazine. I had like I had even the cutout like of Diesel on my door.
I had the Bret Hart poster from the magazine. And then remember when I sent you the picture of the Hogan getting tombstone by Undertaker? That was straight from the magazine. They got the card set.
Everybody can see that Holmes had touched nothing. Also next week, Halloween Havoc NXT
Yes.
with Sochi. Sochi.
So yeah, next week is gonna be great for you, with talking demons and then Halloween Havoc.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy because like the next 2 weeks, I'm so happy that I took for the Halloween week. I already said like I'm on vacation. Like I took a vacation week for Halloween, so it's gonna be epic because it's like Halloween Havoc Part 1, Halloween Havoc Part 2. We're gonna talk demons, and the weekend afterwards, we're gonna talk time stalkers, and then it's the Mr. Olympia. So it's crazy. And 2 weeks after that, I'm going to Prague. it's a stacked time.
So after Time Talkers, are you going to be able to do Hell Comes to Frog Town that week?
I think which Hell Comes to Frog Town we can. What will be because I think we already arranged that. Yeah, I can still do because I'm on the week afterwards. I'm on the weekend in Prague.
Okay, so the 17th is when you're in Prague. Yeah,
exactly.
Cool.
And then I'm gonna watch the Prague Pro, like a bodybuilding contest in Prague. So it's gonna be all wrestling and bodybuilding and horror and science fiction.
Cool. So yeah, next week is gonna be stacked, between you and me with G-Man and stuff. So we're gonna have a great time.
Yeah, bro. Next week I'm gonna be so hyped.
Just be prepared for incoming Instagram posts from everybody on meeting everybody.
Yeah, that's like I'm like where I'm envious. Like I really wish that.
Hey, I was jealous of us all getting together all the time. Now he get to hang with us.
Yeah, finally. But yeah, also like another thing. Yesterday I watched the Halloween Havoc '89, and Jim Ross on commentary back in the NWA WCW days was talking about this young up and comer Sting, the young guy. Well, the young guy's gonna retire next year.
Yeah, and he got nothing else to prove.
Exactly, and
like I told him when I met him, I like stop jumping off the ladders and balconies.
Yeah,
you ain't got to do that shit. You in your 60s, okay? But I'm glad that he was able to, still have fun at his age and not like spiral out of control like Ric Flair did. Because Ric Flair just like he should have not had that match.
He should not. But the other hand is with Ric Flair is nobody wants to see him die in the ring.
No,
nobody. Except for himself, probably. Except for himself, probably.
He said it in that promo.
Yeah.
He said it in that promo. But yeah, Sting going out on his own terms. Hopefully, it's a pretty good match, and he gets to go out putting somebody over and stuff like that. Look, Sting winning. Sting don't need to win. He, like I said, he's got 40 years in the business.
Yeah, the only thing what I still would say, I mean, he probably got a wonderful payday. Is like maybe he shouldn't have gone to WWE just to job for Triple H.
Yeah, that was the one
And
stain on his career.
And the second stain on the career is that Hunter's coming out with the Terminator promo, and Sting not calling his good friend RoboCop.
Oh man,
To have Terminator versus RoboCop at WrestleMania.
if they would have had Terminator versus RoboCop at WrestleMania, God, it'd be like reliving the '80s all over again.
Yeah.
Hey, throw in a Predator in there too. Get somebody in the Predator suit.
Yeah.
All right,
I mean,
man.
as we know, there's a lot of predators in wrestling, though.
Oh shit. Oh, hey, great show, great stream. It was always fantastic hanging out with you.
Absolutely. Looking forward to next week, and of course, I'm gonna watch the Comic Call Gru like on the rewind.
Thanks to Air Spider, came through, G-Man, Kenneth Bird, and Comic Book 1962.
Damien.
That's not Damien though. That's not. They got the same they got the same icon, but that's not.
Okay, that's like
Sleepy Reader's thing.
Yeah, maybe it's never use the same icon like somebody else in the comic.
Hey, there's at least 2 other people that I know use that Crying Vision icon.
Yeah.
So.
But only one has the right.
I know Damien been using it for years though. So
yeah, so like it's immediately, but I don't even read the name. I just see the icon, and I automatically think, oh, it's Sleepy Reader.
But yeah, thanks.
So sorry for the misconception.
Thanks to everybody showing up, man. VV, I hope you have a great weekend.
I hope you have one too. And next week it's gonna be visceral.
Visceral to the core.
Yeah.
Have a great weekend, y'all.